The lion banner sways and falls in the horror-haunted gloom. A scarlet dragon rustles by, borne on winds of doom. In heaps the shining horsemen lie, where the thrusting lances break, and deep in the haunted mountains the lost black gods awake. Dead hands grope in the shadows, the stars turn pale with fright, for this is the dragon's hour, the triumph of fear and night.
We're live?
We are live.
Yes.
Hello and welcome to all the members of the Barbarian Horde, except those filthy picks. And
Filthiest of picks.
yeah, Brul and Brissa being the exceptions. So, hope everyone's well.
And there better not be any Stygians around.
Well,
There's gonna be. Let's face facts.
actually, this video is going to have plenty of Stygians.
Oh yeah, because we are up to chapter 18.
And 19.
Indeed.
Last time on Beast Wars, Conan had ended up finding his way to Stygia from aboard his pirate ship.
Like he
And-
does.
As one does.
Yeah, as one does. And
On,
he had, of course, killed a sacred serpent because it's the thing to do on the weekends. And
Sacred serpents, they're there to be killed.
especially where Conan is
What?
concerned.
One would have to be mad to go into a temple filled with giant serpents.
Or just be in the streets around a temple filled with giant serpents, because they do tend to let
Yeah.
those things out.
Yeah.
I mean that
This-
is crazy.
This place would be Indiana Jones' worst nightmare.
Oh, dear
Times
sweet.
1,000.
Yeah, he made it there.
I mean,
Yep.
it even says here in these chapters that there's how many crawling things in the dark in that temple.
There's too
More than
many.
a few.
Yeah.
And Conan ended up taking out a priest, donning his mask, and joining a procession. So, with Conan knowing that one of them is Thutmose, who is, of course, leading the band of merry priests who end up leading him towards a temple.
Yep.
And things begin to go kind of wrong once he's in there. As he goes from, how do I put it? Now, I'm just going to make it a broad statement regarding this first chapter that we're covering tonight. And that's that we go from a Lord of the Rings novel or something into Dracula. And yeah, so as Conan,
Ancient Egyptian Dracula, no less.
Egyptian Dracula, which is even worse.
Older than Dracula.
Pardon?
Older than Dracula.
Oh yeah. She'd be what, at least like 10,000 years old or something?
Yeah, yeah, they say it was 10,000.
Okay, she doesn't look a day over 2,000.
Or 20, frankly.
Yeah.
And
That was an interesting point. Like, why? I was thinking when I was reading these, I was like, why isn't she ruling Stygia, basically?
that's a good question.
Indeed.
It's because she does say, like, I know all the mysteries, all the knowledge, all the. Of course, that could be just like, come to me.
Yeah.
I'm using this as a ruse, and I'm just gonna kill you and drink your blood.
To be fair, it's possible she's simply not interested, far more interested in sustaining her own existence than ruling anything.
Yeah, I just think it might get boring down there after a while.
Maybe that's why she wants Conan.
Isn't that
Well,
what we
yes,
all
of-
want, Conan?
I mean, ruling the world might be a bit of a drag. I mean,
Yeah.
why not just pick up hobbies and stay in your woman cave?
Yeah, you can't really say man cave, but
But didn't
Woman
it say
catacomb.
but didn't it say she did rule? So I don't know. It's just like
Well, she was nobility at some point.
yeah.
and here's Hail Dog Brothers. Hello.
Hello.
Skola.
And there's Mark. I'm not even going to pronounce his the surname. She was just fail. A vampire. They may be
She said it.
undead of Indiana Jones. You need Abraham Van Helsing.
Well, so long
Yeah.
as it's not the Hugh Jackman one, we should be okay.
I don't know. I like that one.
Yes, but you know,
Good
nobody's
evening.
You have the strangest taste, though.
It
So
It may
Yeah, I
have
know.
had nothing to do with just the lore of Dracula and nothing like
Right.
it. But it was
nothing
an
to do with the fact that
entertaining
Kate
play.
Beckinsale was in a bustier.
There's also that's the main reason. But
yeah, you can't deny that.
But that said, I'm just an enfant terrible. I don't know how to really. I'm basically a contrarian. Everything that the masses love, I hate. Everything that the masses hate, I love. That's generally how it goes.
just don't
I've
be a
noticed
contrarian
that.
to be a contrarian. That's dumb.
Yeah, because then you hate everything that you're supposed to hate, except the things that you're not, which are the things that everybody loves, which you love because you have to hate them because you're a contrarian to yourself.
Yeah, pretty much.
I disagree, just on basic principle.
Eventually, you lost me 0, so I'm just going to agree with what you said.
That's
I'm going to
usually what
disagree
happens.
with it.
Whatever.
You
I
usually
mean, we
come
all
out with
like
that.
movies and stuff like that. That a lot of people don't like. I mean, everyone has
Yeah,
some kind of movies,
yeah. But
guilty pleasures.
honestly, the Van Helsing movie, though I like it, I much prefer the Solomon Kane movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that's a good movie. Great movie.
Or the Call movie.
Oh, that's also a good one. Anyways,
Looking at Zero.
Well, I mean, the Cole movie did have Akivasha too, so that's always interesting.
yeah. And it's Kevin Sorbo. How can you not love a movie with Kevin Sorbo?
I mean,
with an axe in hand.
I
killing
do
people.
actually.
I've seen
I do-
worse. Not saying I didn't
I do-
see worse. That closes the door.
Yeah, I do really like it, but you can see the budget is
Yeah.
the sets are kind of like dangling.
Mm.
Never a good
That's
sign.
Yeah,
But sometimes you need your little guilty pleasures.
I like the Phantom. You guys like the Phantom?
I've
Yeah,
not
it's a pretty
seen
good
it.
movie. It's a fun movie.
No, I haven't
Yeah.
seen it.
Billy Zane has got the chops to pull off that kind of craziness.
He does really resemble the Phantom, so it's
Oh.
pretty good casting.
We've got great news. Just started rereading this book today. That's great, Gola.
Good.
Yeah, this is a wonderful book. I've also been reading it en français. I've got my pocket edition. So, actually, am I at the same chapter?
Well,
I think I
hopefully.
am. Nope, not quite. Almost there. So, yeah, I'm going to be finished the French edition and the English edition at around the same time.
That's always nice.
I gotta say there was a lot of lore in these two chapters. Once again, a lot of
Oh, well, yeah.
cool stuff.
Well,
So-
it
Made
helps
me
if
think-
you're dealing with a character who's lived through a lot of Stygian history, so
Yeah.
you can allude to quite a few things.
What I like is how you have where is it? You have when Conan is first approached by her, there's a certain atmosphere that kind of settles in that like it okay, I'll just read real quick. Narrow black arches opened occasionally to right and left, but he kept to the main corridor, although conviction that he had taken the wrong branch was growing in him. Even with their start on him, he should have overtaken the priests by this time. He was growing nervous. The silence was like a tangible thing, and yet he had a feeling that he was not alone. More than once, passing a nighted arch, he seemed to feel the glare of unseen eyes fixed upon him. He paused, half-minded to turn back to where the corridor had first branched. He wheeled abruptly, knife lifted, every nerve tingling.
And
Yeah,
then she
it's-
shows up.
Can we
All
go
this-
back though?
Sure.
Of all the Stygian tombs,
I just
and all
really
the
love the
Stygia,
atmosphere
I
of
had to
that
run into
paragraph.
hers.
I just love that paragraph.
Yeah,
It's building up to Akivasha.
yeah, but there's quite a lot of stuff before.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
not a lot, but there's some cool stuff here
yeah. I
about.
got a whole 2 pages before that.
Yep.
Yeah, we got about these black towers of Kemi that
Yep.
they were ancient. That they
Yep.
say they weren't built by the Stygians. I thought that was an interesting
I wonder if they were built
tidbit.
by Acheron.
Well, to be
No,
fair,
no.
I thought Acheron was a little older.
No, because it says here later on that then they moved on to the heart of
Oh,
Ahriman
right.
was
The two
first in
different
Stygia,
empires.
and then
That's
it went on
Right.
to Acheron, meaning that it was later on.
Yep.
That so Stygia was before the Stygians themselves. It was already
And just
an
found my
ancient
notes.
place.
The temple predates Stygia, as you said,
Yeah,
and you've got
must be one of the primordial races. I would wager maybe.
yeah, the what do they call them from God and the Bull? The beast and monster gods.
well, it could date back to the Thurian age.
Possible.
Yeah.
One thing is certain is that Akivasha herself and Zaltoten have a lot of similarities, at least in terms of their physical appearances and such. They have quite a few similarities, both pale, ancient, limpid, glowing almost eyes, very tall,
Beautiful.
Yeah, physically attractive. Definitely, very well sculpted features. There's definitely a sense of not necessarily familiarity, but commonality in terms of the two characters, at least in terms of their potential origins.
I wonder if they have met or know of each other.
I imagine.
Xaltatun and Akivasha.
Well, which one's more ancient is the question. I believe she might be.
Yep, I think so.
So
Possible.
he probably would know of her, but I don't think they would have met.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And,
They could have an alliance, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, they were sister kingdoms, basically. At one
yeah,
point.
because Stygia and Acheron, they're both oppressed men throughout the same
from
period.
the same race. They were from the same race of people that was it from the Mu Island? I was thinking.
I'd have to look at the Hyborian Age essay again.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the names.
I don't have my notes on the Hyborian Age.
They came from the east,
Yeah.
Lemurians. Sorry,
There we go.
Lemurians. Or was it the Lemurians who displaced them? They
we have.
Well, anyway, moving on.
Yeah. And it's noted that there's a dim glow near the base of the pyramid, which resolved itself into a doorway. And on either side are stone lions with the heads of women. I believe that would be sphinxes. And it's the way they're described is, and this paragraph sets the mood for them. It's not as reassuring as what looking on the actual Sphinx might be, so that you get a sense of danger here. And enjoyed your recent video on the Phoenix on the Sword. I'm going to guess that's addressed to me, although do you mean the one with Roy Reads Anything or the original book club podcast? So I recently did a collab with a booktuber called Roy Reads Anything. Very nice guy. But
I won't read everything or anything.
Yeah. Well, he's got a great name. He's from merry old England. Je crois Liverpool, je pense, or thereabouts.
Does he speak like Sean Connery?
No. Let's see. And let's see. Yeah, so we've got our sphinxes here. Sorry, I lost my place very briefly. And now it's interesting because you have Conan, who is kind of flubs up when the Stygian does a hand motion with him.
Well, I mean, he can't know the password, so he makes
No.
a pretty good guess, though, like imitating. I mean, it's either that or another sign to respond to his sign. I mean,
Yeah.
a different sign. I mean, it's basically only.
And we see a resurgence of the
There's-
word thews.
Wait, what?
Thews.
Thews.
I don't. But he was dealing with one whose thews were, or whatever, however you pronounce that.
His muscles, his strength. Mighty thews.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh.
Were nerved to the quickness of a jungle cat.
It's a good when he just lags behind, like, something wrong with my sandals here. Give me a second. Just
Yeah, and fractures the guy's skull against the stone wall for his troubles.
these priests don't care about
Neither does Conan.
Well, of course, neither does Conan. Conan has no need for such things.
No, he really doesn't. And the next paragraph sees, well, not next paragraph, the next few see Conan already getting a little uneasy. Now, you have the paragraph I referenced, and you have in the previous one.
Yeah. Conan wondered uneasily for what purpose these colossal piles had been reared, in what forgotten age this was an ancient land. No man knew how many ages the black temples of Stygia had looked against the stars.
Yeah, they could easily be in a really long time. I'm just thinking about like the Tower of the Elephant, you know, of the elephant race or something like that. Because didn't they talk about there were quite a lot of them actually in the beginning when they came to Earth.
Well,
and they helped different races in different places until they started to die out, basically.
Basically, from what I remember from Tower of the Elephant, he and his fellow exiles landed in the east, around the Kitai area.
Right.
Started teaching the locals. Things didn't go that well for them. The local environmental conditions weren't exactly ideal for them without whatever spacesuits they're used to. And eventually, Yakosha was the only one left. And then we remember what happened to him, so...
Yeah.
I'll have to check these out real quick. With Roy, he has some good videos on the Prestige Conan books. I'll have to check those out.
I'm just saying it's a good theory. Maybe they helped with the building of these.
Well, in this case, I would say
ancient
something
sites.
a bit more serpent-like was probably involved.
True.
Maybe Set himself.
What I like is, just to go to the linguistics of this paragraph, how Stygia had looked against the stars as though it's an opposition to the rest of the universe. And just the way it's worded, I really like it.
Well, it makes sense. They are basically chaos. They're against everything that's alive.
Yeah. And we also, there's also reference to the corridor splitting in two branches. And Conan chooses, I believe, according to my notes, the leftward path.
He chose poorly.
Yep. And the left, well, we know that with left, it's associated in traditional thinking with the devil to some extent, which...
Left-hand path.
Yeah, good little reference on Howard's part for choosing the wrong path. And indeed, there's a devil down that path.
To be fair, I wouldn't put too much thought into that. You could have just as easily put right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's important not to read too many things into these.
Fair enough. And you have, she is getting to her description. She is described, like you said, World of Conan, as having ivory skin.
Did I say that? I think Zero said it.
Yeah, I was the one who talked about that.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that, Zero.
Yeah. Her ivory skin showed her to be Stygian of some ancient noble family, and like all such women, she was tall, lithe, voluptuously figured, her hair a great pile of black foam, among which gleamed a sparkling ruby. But for her velvet sandals and broad jewel-crusted girdle about her supple waist, she was quite nude. and a million deviant artists got to work immediately.
Yeah.
What do you hear?
Although, if a million of them were watching this stream, I'd be very happy.
Well, this was written in the 1930s, so they've had time to, be inspired. But very much, yeah. If we look at previous mentions of the more noble families of Stygia, such as in, Slithering Shadow, where we encounter one, they are depicted as different from the rank and file, who are far more, actually, Middle Eastern looking. In this case, more of a reference probably to the Ptolemaic dynasty, who were actually ethnically Greek, Cleopatra and her ancestors from the Ptolemies, for when they conquered Egypt and took over Alexandria after Alexander the Great died.
But it does make sense also, like Howard probably took that the inbreeding basically to one family.
Knows the Egyptians did quite a bit of that in their nobility.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, so they had that even larger gap between the nobles basically being gods and the lower peasantry being of a completely different stock, basically.
Yeah, looking back here at I'm reading catching up on the Hyborian Age essay that mentions a bit the history and everything like that. Ooh, Conan just disappeared. But basically, a good Entombed album. But basically, when the Lemurians broke out of their particular slavery, they overthrew an existing culture that was in this area and called themselves eventually the Stygians, basically absorbing their culture of the people they conquered and becoming there, and absorbing also having at least the characteristics of their nobility becoming the characteristics of their own. So they kind of absorbed and became absorbed in their own way by the culture that they conquered that was in the area, who probably had far more of a relation to those ancient black spires than they did.
Very true. Right. Thanks for that.
Mm-hmm.
Important lore to bear in mind for this chapter.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how quick she is to see through Conan, telling him, "You are not a priest. You are a fighting man, even with that mask that is plain. There's as much difference between you and a priest as there is between a man and a woman. By Set," she exclaimed, halting suddenly, her eyes flaring wide. "I do not believe you are even a Stygian."
Admittedly, he probably looks a bit more, in fighting shape than your average priest. That's for sure.
Yeah, and what's more,
especially when he's got a knife in his hand.
Yeah, and what's more is that, as she points out, I do not believe you are even a Stygian. Although the way she suddenly appears behind him, it's like, and you get the sense when he chooses the left path, that since he's entered this shrine, she has been stalking him.
Mm-hmm.
And
she's certainly been keeping an eye on him, and now is emerging just to confront him.
Yeah. Could she have taken him out at any moment since his entry?
Possibly, but then she wouldn't be able to assuage her curiosity, now would she?
And I like how Conan basically tries to, take her by the throat and tells her, "Not a sound out of you." But immediately notes that her smooth ivory flesh was cold as marble. Yet there was no fear in the wide, dark, marvelous eyes which regarded him. And though this is a different kind of depiction of vampires, as Bram Stoker's Dracula depicts them aging, or at least Dracula himself, Vlad, aging backwards, appearing first as an old man and then becoming a younger man as he drains blood from others. Here, she doesn't do that. And
don't even think she has any fangs or anything like that.
I thought she did, but
I think she does. When she bites him later on.
Yeah.
Give him a knife hickey.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it just says a tiny wound on his throat when we get to that part.
Right.
She has white pointed teeth, but it's never quite sure whether it's like a full mouthful of very sharp teeth, or she actually has some actual fangs. Basically, she's definitely not a traditional vampire in the Bram Stoker kind of tradition of those things. She's definitely a bit more like
Although, now that I think about it, the vampiresses in the Bram Stoker novel did not do the aging backwards thing.
Yeah.
They were still young and voluptuous. So, to an extent,
Well, yeah, I mean, nobody wants their hot vampire babes to be old.
very true. And you've got her basically telling him, do not fear. It's like she's trying to calm him down and thinks he's frightened. And you have her, I will not betray you. But are you mad to come, a stranger and a foreigner, to the forbidden temple of Set? And Conan explains to her who he's after and asks if he's in the temple. And she immediately asks, why do you seek him? And Conan explains he has something of mine which was stolen. At which point she immediately agrees to help him.
Yeah.
And Conan's fairly suspicious of her.
Yeah, but truth is, she just doesn't give a shit about this guy. She's just like,
I mean,
yeah, I'll lead you to Thothmes. I don't care about him.
Yeah.
I mean,
she has no intention.
she's probably really bored.
I mean, wouldn't you be, stuck in a tomb?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, doesn't she do something else than just be inside that place?
I mean, have you known that many vampires with good hobbies? They tend to be fairly boring, to be honest.
That said, Conan shifts from grabbing her by the throat to her wrist. And this is where, as they're walking down the dark corridor, and she shows her knowledge of this temple and its most labyrinthine corridors, I'm just going to comment that there is something, this scene with her is very much reminiscent of that with Zenobia in the media. And
like a parallel?
Just, I think there is a parallel here.
The inverse, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. As you have clearly Zenobia, who's the queen archetype, and you have Akivasha, who's kind of the anti-queen, I guess.
Femme fatale, technically.
Yeah, femme fatale, but she's also a bit of a darker. She's a dark image of Zenobia.
Evil queen. Also, I just want to say Gola Left Hand Path is the best Entombed album. Oh, yes, I agree.
Let me see. I missed that. Oh, yeah. Oh, we have someone called Dawn Fairfield. Howard certainly had a way with even throwaway characters like Akivasha. Indeed, she echoes through time still. Yeah, very true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she definitely makes a good impression.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I'd assume she grows fangs, that sort of effect.
Yeah, possibly. Although it's never actually specifically pointed out.
So, in Akivasha's case, she wouldn't want her boy toys old, heart, smell and wrinkly. No. Hairy, smelly, odd chatter. Okay. Yeah, she probably likes her. She probably likes her men fairly buff and.
Well, yeah, I mean, they got more blood that way.
Yeah.
I mean, she's probably pretty tired of the cowardly priests.
Whoever they may offer to her when they're passing through. If anybody.
Which begs the question, do they know she's there?
Oh, yeah. I would say so.
Yeah.
Because she...
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I was just going to say, she says they leave her alone.
Yeah. They know better than to start antagonizing her.
Which means they're using her as a kind of guardian.
Or she lives there and they're like, okay, we're going to let her stay here because none of us can deal with this crap. She can live here if she wants. We just keep a nice distance from her. I don't think she's not officially allied.
No, she's not an official guardian. But my point is they leave her alone. But generally, if anyone breaks in, they'd have to deal with her.
Yeah, not only her, because it seems she commands the serpents.
Commands serpents and various other creatures of darkness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, they obeyed her and would not touch Conan when they were walking through here.
Yeah.
Where we're reading
My
right
point
now.
is only that she's the perfect defense for this place. Oh, I thought the door was secure.
None may bar the passage of dog.
Yeah, sorry, the dogs. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So the thing about her, I think, is that she's there to guard the place. Though they didn't officially give her the job. I'm just saying, like, they're like, well, we can't get rid of her. We might as well just, close it. Like, be nice to her, suck up as best we can, and just stay out of her way.
Well, I mean, they have to
when it
tolerate her.
breaks in, we'll have to deal with it.
Yeah, they don't have a choice in the matter.
They don't have a
No.
choice. They have to tolerate. She comes with the place, basically.
Not
Yeah.
to mention, she's an ancient Stygian noble of, elder times, the very beginning, a devout of, daughter of Set. Yeah, they've got no reason to want to kick her out. She's probably like a saint to these people.
Yep.
Basically a god to them.
Practically, yeah.
And good luck trying to tell her you're evicted.
Yeah.
Yeah. She could probably evict the entire city.
That's why I'm just like, why doesn't she try to rule or something? Or they allude to her growing her powers or something, like, I don't know.
Well, that's one thing that going back to Dracula for a second, that is one of the things. You have this entity of extreme power, right? Dracula can do all sorts of things, but he can't cross running water. He has to sleep in a coffin full of his own native land's dirt wherever he goes, or he starts, losing his power. He can't handle garlic. He's weakened by sunlight, not incinerated like in the movies, but it's still pretty bad for him. He has to be invited in wherever he goes, otherwise he can't even walk into a place. It's just like we don't, because we don't see there's no actual Van Helsing here telling us what the rules for Akivasha's vampirism or anything like that. But we basically know that, considering the references and stuff, she probably has some serious. Maybe she can't leave. Maybe she has to stay in that temple because that's just where her powers come from. We know later on a bit she describes a bit how she became a vampire, and she alludes to it, but we don't have any specifics really. That's one of the things that makes her a bit more frightening than your average modern bloodsucker where everything's explained and we know all their strengths and weaknesses by the first paragraph or something like that. She's an unknown factor. We don't even know if she can be killed.
Yeah, she might also just die by taking a shower. Like in Dracula 1972.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure Conan would have noticed if she needed a shower that bad.
I thought that was the worst death I've ever seen on screen. Dying by a shower.
I think that was one of the worst movies ever put on screen.
Dude, there's a Dracula movie where he turns into a giant CGI praying mantis.
Fair.
Yeah, but dying by a shower is so hilarious.
The more you know.
If it's good enough for the Wicked Witch of the West, it's good enough for Dracula.
Yeah. But yeah, this scene, I was just reminded of the Zenobia thing. But where Zenobia's leading Conan out of danger, Akivasha is leading him into it.
Specifically, her crypt.
Yep.
It's interesting. He notices that her eyes glow with golden fire in the dark, and then he's like, "Whoops! I made a bad choice here."
Which is exactly what I meant, because Zaltothan is also mentioned with glowing eyes like glowing fire in the dark. That is something that is a reference, like when he gets the first descriptions of him. That is like exact kind of thing. So there's definitely, I would say they're at least at the same ethnicity or the same origin in the terms of the time period.
Could be that it's an undead
same
trait.
people, maybe.
They could be like part of like chosen vessels of Set or something, like chosen.
Or that ancient Stygian Acheronian bloodline has those particular physical traits that keep recurring.
Like I said, could also be the undead thing.
True.
But it alludes that a lot, but we can only guess. Unless we revive Howard in the old Norse sagas way and ask him, there's no way to know. I'm joking there. I volunteer World of Conan to do that if it comes to it.
He does have he does have technically he does have the right to do that.
Yeah.
I have the right to drench him in poutine.
Oh,
But I think I'm just going to say I think it's well written by Howard here. I think in that he writes Conan to understand the situation, even though it seems like basically a woman in that sense that he can overpower her in physical strength like normally. But it's written that he understands. Okay, he kind of messed up. He maybe didn't think that she could be much worse threat than she first appeared to be, and he just goes along to play along to see where this goes, where he can make his move, basically. So I think that was pretty well.
Yeah, as she's leading him along, again, he felt life and movement in the darkness about him, sensed peril and hunger burning impatiently in the darkness, in the blackness. Unless his ears deceived him, he caught a faint sliding noise that ceased and receded at a muttered command from the girl. So even then, not only she is not the only dangerous creature throughout that temple, but she's keeping them at bay because she wants Conan to herself for a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is why she brings her to her place, which is a square chamber with walls and ceiling of polished black marble and furnished after the manner of the ancient Stygians. There was a couch of ebony covered in black velvet, and on a black stone dais lay a carven mummy case. So basically, how more black could it be? And the answer is none. None more.
Yeah.
That's right. Goddamn reference right there.
And we have Don Fairfield commenting that, to his mind, he doesn't think she can really leave the temple.
Yeah.
Let's see.
No, it's not a comedy.
No,
it's not a
but
comedy.
If the shower vamp death is comedy, it works. No,
that was one of the ones with Udo Kier, right?
It's one of the later Hammer
movies.
Hammer movies from the 70s.
Yep.
And 72 AD. They take Dracula to the modern day.
It was terrible.
It was.
Oh yeah. Well, it had Carolyn Monroe, so that's never a bad thing.
And the old
but that
helps. She always saw him as.
But that shower.
It's in a later chapter we'll get to, but basically, the old witch who helps Conan earlier on in the story, she reappears along with that high priest of Hadras, the high priest of Asura. And when they finally confront Zaltotin, she confesses that, he always looked like a mummy to me. So I don't know what the hell his deal was.
Okay.
We'll get to that eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah. Well, there's not that much left of the book.
And you have, of course, as you pointed out, everything's black here. Now, once she's got him at her place, she's not keen to make hastes like Zenobia was in her chapter. Akivasha just tells him, there is no haste. What is an hour or a day or a year or a century for that matter? Take off your mask. Let me see your features. And
bored.
Yeah, once she sees his face, she's pretty keen on it. There's strength in you, great strength. You could strangle a bullock.
Which he has done, so that's a nice little reference that she doesn't know she's made.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Conan tells her, if you've brought me into a trap, you won't live to enjoy your handiwork. Are you going to get off that couch and do as you promised, or do I have to? Now, real quick, technically she isn't alive to enjoy her handiwork to begin with, so joke's on him.
Well, undead, unlife, it's debatable.
Wasn't that from the story Shadows in Zambula?
Yep.
Balpator,
Yeah, Balpator, the great strangler who doesn't realize, you're dealing with a guy who broke a bull's neck as a kid, so, you done fucked up, boy.
And you have Conan, whose sentence trails off because he just saw a mummy case, a sarcophagus, with a remarkable distinguishing similarity to Akivasha herself.
Yeah, and it just so happens that from the many travels, he knows just enough about these hieroglyphics to be able to read what's written there, and it does say Akivasha, which he's like, oh shit.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I mean, if you're treasure hunting and you're always finding yourself in old temples and stuff, I think you would pick up on hieroglyphics a bit, at least, to see the traps. And,
yeah, it's like,
figure
don't
out
step
things.
here.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows there's definitely somebody who's going to leave some mark somewhere to make sure they can actually get out
I mean,
when they've installed things.
I mean, didn't the Egyptians have like they had like warning, like whoever enters here will be cursed or something like that? There were like mentions of that.
Yeah, there were a
People
couple
would
of
be
mentions. I think
cursed.
there's like one case where there was a deadfall built in, where fake floor that would break under someone's weight and just drop them into a pit. But I think that's one of the only times you ever hear of any kind of real booby traps involved in Egyptian tomb construction. But yeah, they did have inscriptions and protective protective glyphs and stuff like that written on their tomb walls and stuff.
Yeah, basically like warning: don't open these. Curses will be.
Do not open before Labor Day.
Oops.
And yeah, you have the legend of Akivasha is apparently that she was an evil and very ancient and very beautiful princess who was said, though 10,000 years had rolled their cycles since the daughter of Tutankhamun had reveled in purple feasts amid the black halls of ancient Luxor.
And then she replies with a little bit of personal information on the whole thing. Her only sin was that she loved life and all the meanings of life. To win life, she courted death. She could not bear to think of growing old and shriveled and worn and dying at last as hags die. She wooed darkness like a lover, and his gift was life. Life that, not being life as mortals know it, can never grow old or fade. She went into the shadows to cheat age and death. And then Conan immediately just like, oh shit, rips open the lid of the sarcophagus, looks in, sees there's absolutely nothing there, and it's like, you
are Akivasha.
Indeed. And she just laughs.
Yeah.
On the other hand, her choice of the sort of life or unlife she has is a contrast to Zenobia, who would prefer to grow old with Conan.
So,
yeah, you have two. Oh, nice picture.
Yeah. Conan's all like, lady?
No, thank you.
Hashtag me too.
Not in this case.
Well, I mean, it's advances not wanted.
Exactly.
It's Conan's like, no, thank you.
This is harassment, and I don't have to take it.
I do not want your disease.
Hashtag chicks be crazy.
I like Zero's comment. This is harassment and I don't have to take it. That's definitely gonna have to be made into a short.
Yeah. It's like who's oh.
But
let me talk to your manager.
The problem is there is no manager where she's concerned.
Well,
she is the manager.
Yeah.
I need an adult. I am the adult.
Conan is a gifted linguist, indeed, referring
Yes, a
to
very cunning linguist.
to his reading of the yeah.
He gets it.
The curse of Me Too is ancient and dark. Oh yes, dates back to ancient Acheron, perhaps further to ancient Volusia,
or ancient Atlantis.
Going back to that paragraph where she's describing a bit her condition there. Essentially, she made a pact with some dark force, darkness itself, she calls it, whether it's Set or something nastier and older. And essentially, she no longer ages, no longer fears death from time, the ravages of time. Just requires the occasional blood transfusion, unwilling blood transfusion for people to keep it going. Essentially, blood sacrifices to herself in order to continue whatever sorcery is keeping her going.
Now,
yeah, of course, we don't know if it's a classical vampire. I mean, this kind of vampire could be a different kind.
well,
It could be
the Hyborian age.
Yeah,
now that
I mean, it
about
could be the only thing that's related to vampirism in this case is her immortality, and any other tricks she has up her sleeve are just standard sorcery and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we're just assuming she might be able to walk the day and don't have to drink blood. She could.
Now, there
I
would
don't
be
know.
someone who just to plug another channel, there is someone who would probably know the answer to all these questions, and that would be Grimdark.
Mm.
And he's got a video on the vampires of Howard's World.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Very long form one, which is very good.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, I figure might as
How
well.
many hours?
What?
Well, he said
How
long
many hours?
form.
You said long form, so I asked how many hours is it?
No, I don't think I said long.
It goes on for a bit, is all we're saying.
Yeah, it's I think like 40 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's very, very, very good, very informative. Well, everything that guy does is informative, but it's you have Akivasha who says of herself, "I am Akivasha. I am the woman who never died, who never grew old, who fools say was lifted from the earth by the gods in the full bloom of her youth and beauty, to queen it forever in some celestial clime. Nay, it is in the shadows that mortals find immortality. 10,000 years ago, I died to live forever." Which, obviously, well, the demonic force she made a pact with wasn't very nice.
Well, no.
And
have you ever known any good forces that make people undead? Like
no. But she does demand that Conan love her.
Yeah.
Or at least
I am Glinda, the good witch. I shall make you an abomination upon the world. Like,
Oh, it does say here, give me your blood to renew. I forgot about this. Blood to
renew
my
my youth and perpetuate my everlasting life. So yeah, she does need human blood in order to keep herself going, basically.
But then would she die then if she didn't take blood, or would she just become like older?
I'd like to think she would get worse and worse and more decrepit as she starved until she was just like this horrible, corpse, decrepit thing that would just ferally attack anybody and not involved nearby and just suck them dry in a mindless frenzy. Because
that's actually a good story idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's actually a good story idea. Like a vampire who hasn't had blood and it's become basically insane. And it's like an old decrepit horror that haunts some place.
And she reveals she has more than just that in store for Conan. "I will make you too immortal. I will teach you the wisdom of all the ages, all the secrets that have lasted out the eons in the blackness beneath these dark temples. I will make you king of that shadowy horde which revels among the tombs of the ancients, when night veils the desert and bats flit across the moon. I am weary of priests and magicians and captive girls dragged screaming through the portals of death. I desire a man. Love me, barbarian." And
so
then she gives him
gotten a man.
Evidently not a real man,
No. But I mean, like, they're dragging the victims seems to just be girls. It's kind of interesting. Is it that a purpose? Do they fear that she would bestow powers upon a man that she likes, and it would become a problem for the priests?
It also
maybe they're just sexist.
Yeah, there's that. It also sounds like she sometimes captures.
Yeah, here they like to watch while she sucks their blood out. Just like, okay, this is kind of hot.
She also, I think, sometimes likes to entrap priests and magicians when she's really starving.
Yeah, or when she's bored, or when she doesn't like them, or any other reason.
False promises of giving them immortality and whatnot.
There's some questions in the comments.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. We have no PhD coyote. Hail and well met. Hello. A coyote without a PhD. That's odd. Let's see. The D20 game Conan does a decent job on vampires, mummies.
Cow or not. Yeah, that's true. It covers those pretty good.
Zero's got the most knowledge, I think, of those. I don't know much about them.
Mongoose Games put out a version of the D20 system for 3rd edition D&D. Highly, customized for Conan and Hyborian Age. Probably one of the better versions of the 3 or 3.5 out there. Yeah. Curious, but right from my first read of this long decades ago, I felt Conan was in real peril there. What do you guys think fell on the matter? I would say that, yeah, he could have had some serious
I would say yes.
problems.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She is
This
definitely
is-
dangerous.
Yeah, this
I think
is
she,
very dangerous.
I think she underestimated him as well, like by a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah. Use the trapped, starved vampire several times in RPGs like
RPGs like-
D&D. Yep.
Yeah, it's a classic for a reason.
Don't want-
And the priests and sorcerers do visit her and probably trade blood for knowledge and power. Yeah, possibly. Or, they just, walk down the wrong hall one day and it's like, hey, topless chick, nice. Oh, crap.
Yeah. Or she just follows the line of magicians and just decides snack, grab,
Yeah.
bite,
Yeah.
dibs. She just basically calls dibs on one of them and takes them out. But
Did you
the
mean
thing
this
is-
one?
Nope, that's GURPS.
Right.
Although that's good.
Let's see if it has
I
something.
tried
like
that one.
Akivasha.
And you have she apparently bites at his throat,
Yeah.
and he says, "Damned vampire," as blood was trickling from a tiny wound in his throat.
Yeah. Which implies, of course, that A, he knows what vampires are, and two, that they're not just in Stygia, because obviously the reference, is from a Sumerian here who's never been to Stygia this far in, actually.
And it's shown that she has white pointed teeth. So, you wouldn't have. I don't imagine her having the over exaggerated fangs
Yeah.
or something, but she definitely has some pointed teeth.
Something a bit more animalistic.
Yeah. Although I would argue I do imagine her with the full vampire fangs.
Yeah. I like to think of her as like very sharp teeth the whole way through, like almost like shark like a little bit.
I kind of prefer the other way, but
Hmm.
yeah, your way is also pretty interesting.
Usually is. And then we have Fool, she shrieked.
Oh.
Sorry.
I just got a interesting point here about Stygia. We got an answer here. Many of the serpent people had migrated to south to settle in the distant unknown jungles. Their great monuments and cities remain populated now by their human slaves and by a few remaining serpent lords. When the Kari fled ancient Kitai and came east, they discovered this civilization and conquered it. Those few serpent people who remained were treated as gods, their appearance and bearing matched many Kari legends. The slave races, on the other hand, merely changed masters. The Kari kingdom, now known as Stygia, quickly extended to reach the mountains of fire to the north, covering much of what is now Shem. Their sister kingdom Acheron extended north of the Kothian mountains, covering the Hyborian lands of the modern age. So this would say that they were serpent people that built the temple. Kemi temple.
It does make a certain degree of sense, at least the relation to Set and everything like that.
Yeah, so it
And
makes
then
sense.
there's slaves who eventually are freed, or free themselves, or otherwise are no longer directly controlled by the serpent men after those things go extinct. Well, they still keep the same gods because that's what they're used to, and so the ancient line of darkness continues on through humanity.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was interesting. That's why I bought this, because this has some interesting lore explained here in this.
Yeah.
That's
Although
good.
quite a bit of it is also from other sources than just Howard stuff.
Yeah,
that are
that's
often, like,
true.
the Marvel comics and stuff like that. So you gotta
That's
be prepared
Yeah.
to dig around, see what comes from where.
that's
But then
true.
again, for gaming, that's always good to have. You want more information than less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
And
also quite a little information anyway, so you gotta
Yeah.
basically.
Akivasha, though,
Make
takes
you-
this rejection as well as, well, some women do. No, I'm not commenting on all, just some.
Just the vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fool, she shrieked. Do you think to escape me? You will live and die in darkness. I have brought you far below the temple. You can never find your way out alone. You can never cut your way through those which guard the tunnels. But for my protection, the sons of Set would long ago have taken you into their bellies. Fool, I shall yet drink your blood.
And it's like you said earlier, Conan tells her this is harassment and I don't have to take it.
Yeah. Keep away from me or I'll slash you asunder. You may be immortal, but steel will dismember you. Which is entirely possible. He could chop her up into tiny little bits, but we don't know how long it would take for those bits to put themselves back together again.
Well, and all of a sudden the candles are extinguished because she had some candles lit for mood.
Of course.
And apparently he killed the mood by rejecting her. I hope people don't mind the constant stream of jokes, but yep, games always reach as broad as they can. Zerosum is right; they need to. Yeah,
this Don Fairfield's a good egg. I like him. He's the bee's knees. He's the cat's meow. You dig?
Yeah. Again, Conan was real close to death. The Sons of Set are surely no joke. No.
Well, depending on whether we're talking about just the giant snakes that they let loose into the town that they previously dealt with, or worse, one of the things from the God in the Bowl. That's
a man serpent.
Yeah, the man serpents are also described, but that's also a child of Set in its own regard. Regardless of what he's describing, there's some nasty stuff in these temples.
So there's basically the serpent men, then there's the man serpents, and then there's just your basic snakes.
Yeah,
giant snakes.
Yeah, ranging from the huge python that Conan killed in this one to what was its name, Sotha or something like that from the Scarlet Citadel. Who's big enough that he can swallow a horse whole.
Yeah, wasn't even in this that there was at the altar. No, not the altar, but basically in the entrance it was sleeping the huge giant snake.
I believe that's might possible. Yes,
it's possible. Like
I think it was.
I'm just wondering if you guys has it occurred to you that maybe Zaltatun and Akivasha are descended from some of the snake men?
It's possible that they are, at least that their branch of humanity was tainted by something, pre-human, some kind of either it's more like, what would eventually be part of the Melnibodeans by Moorcock's Elric stories, or like, ancient pacts with various demons and stuff like that have wormed their way through their bloodlines and have just thoroughly corrupted them from there on, or whether it is actually, interbreeding with various really, really nasty things. Of the Lovecraftian sort.
Yeah,
could they have been descended from Set himself? Because we are aware that there's interaction with divine beings, and there's references to that.
Well,
in
the serpent men are from Set. That's what I've understood. That's why they're called Set.
I thought. But the thing with the only reason I wondered was just there's something very. I know they're undead, but even accounting for that, there's something very otherworldly about both Akivasha and...
There's a book. Hold up one sec. I got it over here in the library.
Yay! We get to dig for Zero's library again.
A series of essays by a guy named Dale E. Ripke called the Hyborian Heresies.
Oh, right, yeah. I was thinking about getting that one.
He's got a whole section specifically on the Acheronians and those things. And he makes a certain, interesting references to basically what in, biblical scholars would call the Nephilim, the people who were, the descendants of humans and angels who were, often references of giants and many other things throughout various biblical passages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In this case, also referred to in various offshoots of Zoroastrianism and stuff like that as, what were they called? Deva and stuff like that, those particular concepts, which Howard could have been actually aware of, since obviously he was a bit of a history buff.
He would have been aware.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's possible that, like he mentions here on page 93, Howard could have based his ancient pre-human race of giant kings on the mythological descriptions of Ahuras and their offspring, creating the tall, white-skinned race of Elder Stygia and Acheron. Yeah. So that is possible there from, to see that kind of historical, legendary, mythical reference here being used for these characters, seeing as how there very much is that kind of physical resemblance in both the descriptions made from those mythological entities with these two particular motherfuckers.
Yeah, I'm just making a note real quick, and I'll have to pick up a copy of Hyborian Heresies.
Yeah, available digitally. It's available through Wildcat Books. I can't remember if they're still in publishing.
I've seen that around. Yeah, seems like a good book.
Copyright
I'll
2004. It's got all sorts
And
of stuff, including his own particular chronology of the Howard stories for Kurt's career, where those greenstone cities popped up from, where they're always showing up in Howard's Conan stories. Mysteries of the Cataclysmic Age. It's basically lots of essays on the Hyborian histories in the Thurian Age too. So
yeah.
I think you guys get a kick
really
out
good.
of it.
Yeah, it sounds really good. Though.
I'll definitely pick up a copy, and I'll also, after I find the link to the book,
about the serpent. Yeah, the last chapter we did before the Akivasha chapter. There it says. In the midst of the great hall stood a black stone altar, massive, somber, without carvings or ornament, and upon it coiled one of the great sacred serpents, its iridescent scale shimmering in the lamplight. It did not move, and Conan remembered stories that the priest kept this creature drugged part of the time. So there was
the priest
great serpent. Yeah, great serpent.
Yeah, they may worship snakes, but they're not stupid. They're aware just how dangerous they are, and they don't want to get.
I guess they couldn't command them, but Akivasha seems to be able to command the things in the dark.
Serpent men do not seem to have great protection beyond their sorcery under authors like Howard or Lovecraft. Set or Yig aren't sentimental evil gods.
No, because at some point they kind of lose the blessing of these gods and start degenerating, whether it's directly related or not. In the case of perhaps they just have an unstable genetic code that's just slowly losing coherence over the eons, and they eventually degenerate into what could possibly be the people of the dark and stuff like that in other Howard tales, where it's just these stunted, barely sentient, just troglodytes that could be called forth for certain rituals and such if you really want to talk to them.
There's also the factor that I think that Yig and /Set don't really have any interest in creatures that fail them and that are that weak,
or any interest period. They could have just come by, screwed a couple of snakes, they develop into weird serpent men things, and then just fucked off. There's really, we're talking about, Lovecraftian deities. They're not exactly the kind that actually notice you're there unless you poke them with a stick, and then they just step on you.
Right. There's the last, not the last, but basically one of the last stories of Conan in the pastiche that the Lynn Carter and the camp made, Conan of the Isles, I think, and that ends with battle between the serpent men. That's basically like you said, Zerosum, basically troglodytes or stuff like that. There,
the last poor pathetic remnant of an even in Kuld's time. If we go back to their first appearance in the Shadow Kingdom, they're no longer in control as much as they used to be. They're behind. They have to be behind the scenes because their great kingdom previously got wiped out by humans when they finally rose up against them, which means leaving them forced to stick to the shadows and hide themselves. And then Kull goes on his massive Snake Man purge and just drives them out completely. At which point, there's practically nothing left for them anymore.
It could be that their procreation is more difficult and longer in a way to get numbers, basically.
Yeah, and they're simply no longer able to.
Which would kind of make them evil versions of Tolkien's elves, which face a similar problem.
Yeah. I remember in one of the Mongoose Adventures, for going back to that Conan D20 RPG, there's one bit that does depict, their particular reproductive, the things they have to do to try and get reproduction going. It involves human sacrifices, and it ain't pleasant. And one thing those guys did when they did the Mongoose Conan RPG, they did not fuck around with the nasty R-rated stuff.
Yeah, I also have this one.
Well,
that one they did not fuck around. That one they did fuck around with the nasty R-rated stuff. There isn't quite as much.
Conan on the way out from Akivasha's room ends up plunging into the darkness, and it's interesting how he's almost panicking. Well, he is panicking, and It says that he slashed ferociously at sounds and movements he heard, or imagined he heard, in the darkness near him. And once his sword cut through some yielding tenuous substance that might have been cobwebs, he had a desperate feeling that he was being played with, lured deeper and deeper into ultimate night, before being set upon by demoniac talon and fang.
Yeah, now we're in full horror territory, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And then, here we get to the next paragraph where it goes full on Lovecraftian in a certain way. And through this fear ran the sickening revulsion of his discovery. Knowledge being the source of fear, which is, full on Lovecraft, thematically speaking. The legend of Akivasha was so old, and among the evil tales told of her ran a thread of beauty and idealism of everlasting youth. To so many dreamers and poets and lovers, she was not alone the evil princess of Stygian legend, but the symbol of eternal youth and beauty shining forever in some far realm of the gods. And this was the hideous reality. This foul perversion was the truth of that everlasting life.
This is also, in a way, a reference or a callback to By This Axe I Rule and to Phoenix on the Sword, where poets are described as being idealistic and kind of divorced from reality in a way.
Yeah.
And so that here we get Conan does have a fondness for poems and poets.
Yeah.
It's a bit of the Celtic in him. So here, the poetry that surrounded the legends of Akivasha that he liked so much have been torn from him.
I think he also respects the tradition that's kind of like how history is passed down.
Orally.
He makes mention of that in Phoenix on the Sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that this place, like you said, Zero, where it continues. Through his physical revulsion ran the sense of a shattered dream of man's idolatry. Its glittering gold proved slime and cosmic filth. A wave of futility swept over him, a dim fear of the falseness of all men's dreams and idolatries. That's a really great sentence there.
Yeah.
I really like that one.
And all throughout this, Akivasha is laughing.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that she survived. For some reason, I thought that she died here. I don't know.
Well, technically she's already dead, but
okay, yeah.
But no, she basically just lets him go to fumble in the dark.
It's good that Conan didn't. I mean that Howard didn't make Conan to go back and try to kill her or something like that. That would be kind of
Well, I don't think he never has Conan actually kill a woman.
No.
Ever. There's no moment. The closest he gets to, doing anything nasty to a woman is when it's, the Frost Giant's daughter, obviously that ending. And, when he, in the Rogues in the House, when he grabs a hooker and just tosses her into a cesspit because she betrayed him.
Yeah. There's just a few chat comments I fell behind. Nice analog. Snake Men as evil Tolkien elves, anti-elves. Yeah, that's kind of what I meant. Yeah. That panic probably sold me on the level of danger. How often do we read about Conan panicking? Very true.
Mm-hmm.
The
only other time is in God of the Bull when he sees the man serpent they just killed and runs away. Just immediately shit, and runs out.
I mean, it's on terror. It's on par with his character. I mean, he's in the heart of sorcery, basically.
Yeah. He's
and he dislikes sorcery very much. So.
Yeah, because there's nothing here he can really fight.
Yeah.
As one of the reasons he's so bored with statecraft and stuff like that is that there's all the paths are crooked and everybody's trying to stab you in the back as opposed to just coming at you fair and square with a sword in your hand and just going at it. But here it's even worse because the knives are coming at you from all directions and they're invisible.
And we get at the start of chapter 19, just to move along.
Yeah, in the Hall of the Dead.
Yes. I love this chapter. And we have here, though you felt the darkness pregnant with sentient life.
Mm-hmm.
Which, after the experience he's had, darkness is going to be something he's not exactly keen on.
Not at the moment, but luckily there is a light. And the
There's-
light is being carried by 4 tall, gaunt men in black hooded robes leaning on staves. We've seen
these
these
are
guys
interesting.
before.
He caught up.
Describe Eldritch. Oh wait, are these? So these are the Khitan ones, right?
Yep.
Because I was thinking like these were some other kind of creatures that are also
Yeah.
worship at the set temple, as well. But
Well, they are described as indescribably eldritch because they're moving. Like they've
Yeah, that's
cast,
what
like,
threw me off.
phantoms. Yeah.
yeah, that's what threw me off. Like because with Eldritch, I think of like really ancient beings. But with the Kitai beings, they weren't like ancient. They were just servants, or they had become servants of.
Yeah. They're basically just
whatever.
creepy as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even Conan has a sense that they're not human. And
Yeah.
they were like black ghosts, stalking ghoulishly along the haunted tunnels. So, yeah. And
Pleasant, folks.
my only question is, what else is haunting those tunnels other than Akivasha and whatever
Stygians.
snake beasts are down there?
In this case, Stygians. And I do like the irony that these guys are hunting down Conan. And now Conan is following them to get to the heart of Ahriman.
But are you guys 100% sure these are the Kitai
Oh, yeah.
guys?
Well, he says, yeah, they were not Stygians, nor like anything Conan had ever seen. So yeah, they're
but-
definitely they are the guys.
I mean, he says they're like black ghosts, and the other ones describe them as kind of like yellow stuff or something.
Well, no, because we'll get to it later. But through the black arch of the door, 4 gaunt black robe shapes had filed into the great hall, and then through all the mist confronts him like, "Who are you?" And it's like, "We follow Conan of Aquilonia. He's not here.
Right.
You lie." So yeah, it is these 4 guys. They've been, just looking for Conan this whole time. They know he went into this temple, so they're just like, "We gotta find him."
Right.
And you have, of course, Conan, who chooses to not exactly follow them everywhere. He decides to go up a shadowy gallery so he can look down on everyone.
Smart.
Yeah, keeping his distance. It was a hall of the dead, which few ever see. But the silent priests of Stygia, along the black walls, rose tier above tier of carven, painted sarcophagi. Each stood in a niche in the dusky stone, and the tiers mounted up and up to be lost in the gloom above. Thousands of carven masks stared impassively down upon the group, in the midst of the hall rendered futile and insignificant by that vast array of the dead.
Yeah, so it's a big old necropolis.
Yep.
Yeah.
The sort of place Emotep from the Mummy movies would probably enjoy.
Yeah, it makes you think of like Book of the Dead and stuff like that.
Yeah, and of course now he knows the group down there are the priests that he was following. Although they have described their masks, but you can tell from their dress and stuff like that.
And we see the heart of Ahriman upon the altar.
Finally, for the first time in all this time, he finally gets close to it. Yeah, the dazzling glow emanating from a great red jewel which lay upon the altar, in the reflection of which the face of the priest looked ashy and corpse-like.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Finally finds the goddamn thing.
And this is hinting at what's going to happen to them, since they look corpse-like.
Yeah, I do like the fact that then you get Tutmosis, who's we finally meet for the first time, is near the altar, who says, "And so the word came southward. The night wind whispered it, the ravens croaked of it as they flew, and the grim bats told it to the owls, and the serpents that lurk in the hoary ruins, werewolf and vampire knew, and the ebon-bodied demons that prowl by night. The sleeping night of the world stirred and shook its heavy mane, and there began a throbbing of drums in deep darkness, and the echoes of far weird cries frightened men who walked by dusk, for the heart of Ahriman had come again into the world to fulfill its cryptic destiny."
Howard really knows how to write.
Yeah. "Ask me not how I, Tuthothmes of Kemi and the Night. So
Real quick.
now we know who he is.
Now, real
It's
quick,
really-
I have a question, and I'm just going to
Yeah.
put this out there. Why the heck have we not seen Conan fight a werewolf yet?
Werewolves
it's
are another
kinda like-
story.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I meant, I don't think Howard ever wrote.
He did. Wolf's Head
Oh.
is called. It's well, give me a second.
Oh yeah,
I haven't read it yet. And I want to know which story that is.
but I don't think that's Conan. Right?
One sec, just mark my page. And this baby right here,
Which one?
the
Can you show?
Rattle of Bones and their terrifying and other terrifying tales. With some
Yeah, but it's not a
kick-ass
Conan
illustrations.
tale.
No, this werewolf, heavily armed
Right.
and armored werewolf.
Yeah,
is
but
one
I
of
meant,
these- yeah.
like, I'd like to
Oh
see
no, Conan never fires a werewolf. Sorry.
I'd like to see Conan fight a werewolf. Is all I'm saying.
Well, you can't.
Howard can
Yeah.
write like a demigod, and Zero can read it well. Yes, he does read it very well, and he can read it both English and French, which is very commendable.
Yeah.
Um,
The story Wolf's Head, which was in Weird Tales April 1926. So if you do want some Hyborian werewolves, you got that one's got you covered.
Goody.
What
And
was
it
it
takes
called?
place in France. So there, if you want to read things in French and in English, you pretty much have to at that point.
Yay!
What was
Yeah.
that called? The book?
This one, it's
Yeah.
Robert E. Howard, Rattle of Bones and Other Terrifying Tales, illustrated
Oh,
by
right.
Gabriel Rodriguez. So really cool. Like here, you get the cover is Rattle of Bones with Solomon Kane. That the
Right.
skeleton with the magic manacle being kept in an inn.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got the House of Arabu, which is a kind of hard to find story from Avon Fantasy Reader, 1952. Originally
Yeah.
published as The Witch from Hell's Kitchen, which is weird because it takes place in Babylon. It's got People of the
Right.
Dark. It's got it's got some good selection of Howard's scary stuff.
People always say Pigeons from Hell is like his best horror.
I may or may
I-
not have picked that for my Halloween special this year, so stay tuned.
I haven't read it, but
Yeah.
just hear about it.
And you have Thuthothmes. Go on, Zero. you were reading?
Thuthomes.
Yes. Ask me
Ask
not
me
how
not.
I, Tuthothmes of Kemi and the Night, which is a nice title. You gotta give him credit for that. Heard the
Yeah.
word before Thothamon, who calls himself Prince of all wizards. There are secrets not meet for such ears, even as yours. And Thothamon is not the only lord of the Black Ring.
Yay, go Thuth.
I knew, and I went to meet the heart which came southward. It was like a magnet which drew me unerringly. From death to death it came, riding on a river of human blood. Blood feeds it, blood draws it. Its power is greatest when there is blood on the hands that grasp it, when it is wrested by slaughter from its holder. Wherever it gleams, blood is spilt, and kingdoms totter, and the forces of nature are put in turmoil.
You're so much better than Thothamon. I mean, you're so much better.
But Don Fairfield, I'll
It's
post
like-
the tomorrow after I've slept. I'll post the books Hyborian Heresies and Rattle of Bones in the comments.
This makes a question. Why do you think, guys, Thothamon is not the one here who takes a hold of the heart of Ahriman? Why is it this Thuthomes guy? Why did Howard choose Thuthomes instead of Thothamon here?
It is
It's
an
kinda
interesting
like-
choice, isn't it? Because that's the
Yeah.
odd thing. Thothamon only shows up physically in one story. He gets referenced in God in the Bowl, and he gets referenced here and
Yeah.
nowhere else. For
And
all
he's said
the
here to be
importance-
like the
yeah.
Lord. Yeah.
Yeah, for all his importance in the various pastiche works, the guy's basically a non-entity. He never even runs into Conan once. Never.
He's more like the looming shadow,
Mhm.
or like more in the background.
There's
Yeah,
something
Don
that,
says probably keep him for later uses. That's entirely possible. Yeah.
there's something that Roy Reads Anything and I discussed regarding Thothamon, and it's that for one thing, maybe to an extent, because of like with Thothamon, there's various ways of reading him, but that Marvel decided to use him like the supervillain to Conan's superhero.
Yeah.
And that to an extent, Fafamon, as Howard envisioned him, may not have been as impressive as what fans built up Fafamon to be. But on the other hand, might be more impressive. That like Howard may have wanted him to be more impressive. We don't know. Howard didn't really take the character anywhere after.
Yeah.
I mean, he
be
does
honest
say
with
he's
you.
Prince of all wizards, right?
Yeah,
And
well, he
all of the
calls
Black
himself
Ring.
the greatest of all wizards, but
Lord
that has
of
a
the
lot to do with that ring he carries around with him.
Oh yeah.
Which, when he
That's his power.
lost, his power was broken, and he had to, flee. Was enslaved and taken, as a mere,
There's-
bootlicker for, some Aquilonian guy who was going to, usurp Conan back in the first story.
There's also basically
No, I
just the
think
point.
that the thing with Fafamon,
I just wanted to say there's basically only that point, probably the point maybe Howard wanted a wizard who would die here, and he didn't want Thothamon to die. He wanted
Yeah.
to have his
I
moving
get the
shadow.
Yeah, spoiler warning: Thothmes is gonna die.
yeah, but I get the sense that Howard. Okay, so the thing is, I don't think he ever intended Fafamon to be as big as Zaltotun, and I think that Fafamon, I get the sense that the idea was always to use him later. You know what I mean? Like maybe there was an intention to use him later down the road. It was just a matter of crafting together the right tale, but he never came around to it.
Or maybe
I mean,
he
it
had
wouldn't be the
wanted
first
to
time that he's
move
thrown
on.
out some idea and never gone back to it.
Yeah,
Or maybe it's one of those stories that was lost.
yeah, there was a few
Yeah.
of those.
I mean, he had a bunch of stories in that trunk of his that he never even submitted or anything like that. Some of which were pretty good, others not so much. But basically, maybe just like, he put this like thread of this, Stygian sorcerer and like, forget about it. Let's do something else.
Yep.
For me personally, it does read like Thothamon is like the villain for Conan, that he is one of the big bads of the world of Hyborian age.
I think he is, but not of the same caliber as, like I said, Zaltotun. And
Perhaps not in terms of raw power, but in terms of like political acumen. The guy is running it, successfully does manage to conquer and take over Stygia, although admittedly
from the inside,
using the king, the actual king of Stygia, Sthenopon, as his puppet, basically.
Yep.
He may not be the official guy on the throne, but he is the master of Stygia,
and everyone
as the
knows
master of the Black Ring.
Yeah, and everyone knows he's really in charge.
Yeah.
So.
Aren't they basically like just king in name only? The Stygian kings, anyway.
I mean, it is a theocracy, so
yeah, they don't have much say.
And you have, Thuti, who says, "Tonight you shall witness the breaking of Fafamon's chains which enslave us, and the birth of empire." Well, I'm glad he dreams big.
I mean, go big or go home, right?
Yep, but he's never
He
going to
really went home.
He really should have gone home. But
which technically he did.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
I guess you gotta
yeah.
try. I guess you mean you gotta try.
Yeah.
But he decides he's going to awaken kings, queens, generals, priests, wizards, the dynasties, and the nobility of Stygia for 10,000 years. Basically, they're going to revive everyone that he could with the heart of Ahriman. And they're basically going to enslave the living with the undead.
Yeah.
Which, that's a rather nasty thing to do. And
well, he says, by the lore of the dead, we shall enslave the living. So it's less that he's going to have an army of undead corpses, a la, the Empire of the Necromancers from Clark Ashton Smith, and more like, I am going to learn the secrets of 10,000 years of Stygian, black magic and, conquerors and stuff like that from these people who are surrounding us right now. And with their knowledge and their lore, we shall be unstoppable. Kind of thing. I think also, having a couple of undead bodyguards probably doesn't help either. It doesn't hurt either. So
I think he wants the knowledge, obviously, but like I said, he's dreaming big of enslaving the living. Yeah. And he plans to use a former high priest of Set, who died 3,000 years before, Thoth-Menkri,
Thoth-Mekri.
thank you,
Yeah.
who was an adept of the Black Ring and who knew the heart. And they basically planned for him to tell them everything he knows about the heart of Ahriman.
Yeah, because basically they know how to use it to resurrect the dead and talk to them. They don't necessarily know everything else it can do.
They basically only know that. They don't know anything about this heart at all.
Yeah, they're just messing around with the equivalent of a nuclear reactor.
They don't know at all what it can do. It seemingly can do a lot of it's really, really powerful. Like it has a lot of hidden things in it.
Mm-hmm.
There was also the lore drop here. Here was its home in the centuries before it journeyed to Acheron.
Yeah. And also the fact that it's powered by blood and slaughter in many ways.
Yeah. I wonder what its origin is. Could it have something to do with once again, the elephant race? I don't know. Or even back to Set.
Who knows? I mean, if it started up in Stygia, that would make sense. But it could be an artifact of the Serpent Men, something from an even older, more dangerous race of creatures.
Different planet, yeah.
Could it be related to the shiny trapezedron from, the Haunt of the Dark from H.P. Lovecraft, which was brought to Earth by the fungi from Yugoth? I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Basically, should be weird.
A lot of possibilities.
Yeah, and sometimes it's best not to know.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just
Black Lotus, Stygian, the best.
There's a lot of drugs. Yeah. You have Corporeal Life Form. Welcome. Hey, first time catching you guys live. I'd stay, but I have a horror chat to host in a few. Oh, that's nice. Hope you have fun.
Indeed.
Enjoy. Yeah. This is the season for it.
Speaking of horror, that story I mentioned, Empire of the Necromancers by Clark Ashton Smith, read that shit. That is good.
All right.
What kind of horror?
Two necromancers to get kicked out of town decide to, raise an entire necropolis to be their, personal pleasure dome.
Cool. Got to read it.
Yeah. And the local dead are not too happy about it.
I think you got a super sticker or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you got $2.
Let me check that. Oh, wow. That's never happened before.
I don't think I'm even able to get stuff like that.
I
don't know.
It's just weird.
Never received any before.
Well, thank you, Mr. Nerdporial. Much obliged.
Thanks very much. Well, Ahriman is the Persian god of darkness / evil.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to the things that we were talking about from this book, the Devas and related stuff from Zoroastrianism, which is, directly related to that. So, there's some interesting thoughts to be brought on about that.
I mean, the monetized thing has changed so much. It's so weird. Like,
man, I have no idea how any of that shit works. I just
that's what I mean. Can you get Zerosum? Can you get money on your channel?
Oh no! I gotta wait for it until I hit at least 1,000 subscribers.
So this is what I mean. The brothers Hyborian, what do you guys have? Like over 100 subscribers?
We've got over 100, but Nerdporial I think is over on Brothers Crin, which we're also streaming.
Oh right. Yeah,
right. And there you got 1.3K. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Overall, for me, it says you got to have like 500 subscribers and then 3,000 watch hours in a certain time period. Then you can get super chats and super stickers. But then if you want to be monetized, they've changed this. Then you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours in a
different thing with regards to
in a time period. It's not overall, it's a time period you have to have.
It's the difference between overall monetization and during a particular live stream where people can make donations, stuff like that.
It's all kinds of stuff. Anyway,
back to more interesting shit.
Yeah
for
real.
The guy puts the stone, the heart of Ahriman, into the hands of that mummy on the altar, about to say some grand incantation to rise him from the dead.
I kind of feel sorry for that dude. He got like mid incantation and he's gonna be like for the rest of eternity. He's just gonna be corpse forever.
And then
It's like,
four dudes just show up and ruin it for everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they don't come in with the best of intentions and say, we follow Conan of
But this is, I mean, they're not described the same, as the earlier guys, Eldritch guys.
Well, no,
that's what I mean.
Yeah, but honestly, four black gaunt black robe shapes. For the other ones were four black robe guys. Ultimately, Kung Fu fighters with black magic. That is definitely the kind of movie I'd be into.
I love that they have their staff, that it's from the living tree of death. I mean, that's
and if you had any doubt of who we were talking about here, the guy's his voice was toneless as a Khitan temple bell. So like it's the same kind of monotone they use, and deliberate reference to Kitai. So you get the immediate nose. Okay, this is who these guys are. We've seen them before. You know what they can do.
Here I just meant the earlier one. Yeah, the earlier reference.
And you have Thutmose, who tells them he is not here, referring to Conan. And you have, you lie. He is in this temple. We tracked him from a corpse behind the bronze door of the outer portal through a maze of corridors. We were following his devious trail when we became aware of this conclave. We go now to take it up again. But first, give us the heart of Ahriman. Good to know they decided that a side quest was permissible.
Yeah. It's like, well, they have two basic objectives. Kill Conan, get the heart back.
Well, I mean, they do get their freedom if they get the heart of Ahriman, like they say, they can just skedaddle back to Kitai and take over.
Yeah. Although this is one of those things where often you see all these bad guys who want to conquer the world or conquer the kingdom. I don't think these guys are interested in anything like this. These guys seem more like the stoic, but
they were cast out.
Yeah, they were cast out. They definitely would like some payback on whoever did that, exiled them. But I don't think they'd ever want to conquer anything. Now, like for instance, here's the
weren't they the ruling ones? Weren't they the ruling body?
No, I don't think so. No, I doubt it.
But they actually state their intentions when they say, "Who can look upon it without desire?" In Kitai, we have heard of it. It will give us power over the people which cast us out. Glory and wonder dream in its crimson deeps. Give it to us before we slay you.
Yeah. So they do want payback on whoever exiled them, but I'm not sure they want to rule Kitai, is what I'm saying.
I think they do. And
I think they don't.
I think they
do. A bad game of hot potato.
Well, I just think they say it'll give us power over the people.
If there's one thing that can be said about that gem is that it's like the One Ring, which you guys obviously reference, is that everybody wants it. Anybody with any kind of bad intentions immediately wants it for themselves when they see it.
Yeah, I think that under other circumstances, they wouldn't want anything to do with rulership or any nonsense like that. Like you said, Zero, it's just the heart that drives them to kind of dream bigger than what they would ordinarily, so that they would use it to try to lay claim to rulership. But the minute you take the heart, they'd lose interest, because what's the point?
I will say that's an interesting difference here between our two Stygian sorcerers who are in this. Thutmose describes himself as wanting empire. Thoth-Amon, we barely hear from the guy. He seems perfectly content with just staying in Stygia, telling everybody what to do there, and just leaving everybody else alone for the most part.
I think he might be a guy who has kind of a different way of wanting to have control over the planet. Basically, he wants to through magical and godlike means instead of outright armies.
Yeah, he seems like the kind of guy who wants more personal power than he does, the kind of power that would grant him empire.
That, and maybe he's just gotten lazy and wants to kick back with the boys with a couple of brewskis.
Just like go like a different route is what I mean to the end result that would be the empire.
Yeah,
maybe if he stays in his own corner, he figures no one would come bother him, and so he'd live longer and have
All the
That
power.
or
of the
he's
universe.
one of those, more introverted types who's far more interested in his own studies and, magical experimentations than he is with the day to day. In that way, he would almost be comparable to Conan in a certain way, far more interested in doing his own thing than in, actively ruling the kingdom. Conan just has more of a sense of duty about it. So yes, I will sit on the throne. I will listen to your petitions. I will do the diplomacy crap. Whereas, Thalthamon is like, yeah, I'm going to let the Pharaoh deal with all this crap. I'm just going to, step in and tell him what to do when I want something specific. Otherwise, just leave me out of it. I am the master of the Black Ring of Set. And I'm going to tell a whole bunch of wizards what to do. That's fun.
And you have, of course, the Khitans who, as Don Fairfield puts it, kung fu fighters with black magic, sort of.
Indeed, yeah.
And they are more than keen
How
to
so? They use a
engage in
staff.
Monks
engage
can use
in battle.
staves.
And what we get is an awesome fight as the wielders of the Tree of Death, I think it is,
Living
versus, we basically get these ninjas versus evil dark sorcerers, dark wizards and whatnot.
So essentially,
everything any man has ever wanted to see.
So essentially, Robert E. Howard predicted Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. Except this is even more awesome. Sorry.
Yeah,
This
a
is
fierce
one of
cry rang out as a priest leaped with a flicker of steel. Before he could strike, a scaly staff licked out and touched his breast, and he fell as a dead man falls. In an
That's an
instant, the
interesting way to
mummy,
put it.
in an
Right.
instant, the mummies were staring down on a scene of blood and horror. Curved knives flashed and crimsoned, sneaky staves licked in and out, and whenever they touched a man, that man screamed and died.
That's an interesting way. Like, what do you mean, like licked staffs licked?
Well,
in
like,
and out?
like
do you
a
mean
snake.
like this? It's like
Just
yeah,
licked out.
right. Yeah.
Just like quick little
Kind of-
tap and boom, dead.
Yeah. That's really cool. The living tree of death. So,
And
it's
apparently,
interesting.
one of the Khatan are fairly hacked to pieces.
Yet still on his feet and dealing death.
When
Then Thuthothmes smote him on the breast with his open, empty hand, and he dropped dead with though naked steel and not been enough to destroy his uncanny vitality. So Thuthothmes has the black hand of Set on his hand, on his side, and it's just like casting that shit, and it's just like death touch. So he's doing the Dimmak on people, whereas they're just using their stabs. So yeah, it is fucking good. Black magic kung fu.
yeah,
No, I think that's like his magic power. It's not like pressure.
Oh no,
point stuff.
it's definitely not martial arts. It's definitely full on sorcery. But it's like hiya,
black hand of Set.
Yeah, and it leaves that imprint on them. It's like in Iron Monkey.
This is also an interesting point with the living tree of death. Once again, I'm assuming it's in Kitai or somewhere there, because there's also what was the lotus? I don't. Was it the black lotus or was it some other lotus that was
Oh, there's a
found?
bunch of them.
That was found in Kitai that was extremely poisonous, used in Tower of the Elephant story. He had just barely gotten that little poison so he could get through the guard, and he had, and that alone was like one of the great feats of this thief, because it's like impossible to get even a little bit of that lotus or that poison stuff, and that was found in Kitai. I think it was like the yellow lotus or something. Was it the purple?
Possibly,
lotus?
yeah. He just blew the dust and it killed a bunch of people. Or
let me see.
elephant.
Let me see. Tower of the Elephant.
Got it right here.
Yep. I could not.
Here we are. Black Lotus, whose blossoms wave in the lost jungles of Kitai, where only the yellow-skulled priests of Yun dwell. Those blossoms strike dead any who smell them.
Right. So it was Black Lotus.
Yeah, it's Black Lotus. It's the it's the eastern variant rather than the southern variant, basically.
Yeah. So the Conan movie kind of like, eat this and you die immediately. So basically something. So it's something else, I guess, in the movie.
And we have Thuddy, who tries to rush the Catan. He rushed at the remaining Catan. His empty hand lifted like a weapon, and that hand was black as that of a Negro. But before he could strike, the staff in the tall Catan's hand licked out, seeming to elongate itself as the yellow man thrust. The point touched the bosom of Thuthothmes, and he staggered. Again and yet again, the staff licked out, and Thuthothmes reeled and fell dead, his features blotted out in a rush of blackness that made the whole of him the same hue as his enchanted hand. Ouch.
Yeah, he gets a couple of shots of this stuff.
And the Catan turned toward the jewel that burned on the breast of the mummy, but Conan was before him.
Yeah. And finally, these two face each other for the first time, because this is the first time that they've actually been face to face with Conan.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
When I go to re-upload this as a video, if I have to, I'll have to cut here and put in a reference to Dark Helmet for the first time and the last time.
Yeah. Far have I followed you, O King of Aquilonia, down the long river and over the mountains, across Portan and Zingara, and through the hills of Argos and down the coast. Not easily did we pick up your trail from Tarantia, for the priests of Asura are crafty. We lost it in Zingara, but we found your helmet in the forest below the border hills, where you had fought with the ghouls of the forests. Almost we lost the trail again tonight among these labyrinths.
You should,
So really,
should have
the
made
guy
it like
this guy really
should have
likes
been like a
explaining
high
himself
voice.
to people.
you should have made it like a high voice, like "Far have I followed you, O King of Aquilonia,
No.
down the long river and
See,
up the mountain."
that does not sound like a Khitan
I
temple
crossed
bell.
point
I'm
and
sorry. You have to
I
get
lost
at
my
least
voice.
there's a little bit of bass in there, kind of.
I lost my voice at Zingara.
Or you do it like you have helium.
I followed you, King of Aquilonia, down the long river and over the mountains across Putte.
Nay, you may not get the heart of Ahriman. It is mine.
It is mine. It is my precious.
Oh, dear sweet mother of Crom.
King of Aquilonia.
Sorry for the name voice. But I think that here Howard does something that's great because this is basically the detective reveal, like how
Yeah.
they've been tracking him.
Mhm.
Conan, I mean. So
And then eventually, Conan demands, "Why have you hounded me?" And he just says, "All right, I'll tell you."
because I hate your voice.
Yes, it was a debt to pay. To you who are about to die, I will not withhold knowledge. We were vassals of the King of Aquilonia, Valerius. Long we served him, but of that service we are free now. My brothers by death, and I by the fulfillment of obligation. I shall return to Aquilonia with two hearts. For myself, the heart of Ahriman. For Valerius, the heart of Conan. A kiss of the staff that was cut from the living tree of death.
Well, he's full of confidence. He can take. He's basically alone. Isn't he wounded? Even I think.
Possibly, yeah. I'm more interested in saying like the three other Khitans are dead, but he's like, they're free. Good. I will be free another way, or I'll be dead. It doesn't matter. He seems very equivocal about the whole thing, but I suppose that goes to his temperament.
yeah.
Like, never in any of this stuff does the guy ever raise his voice. You never hear any of these guys throughout the entire story so far. Anytime they're there, they never speak over a monotone.
All right.
That is
Or
creepy as fuck.
yeah, like or anxious or
Yeah.
any kind of emotions, any which way, basically.
I think it's also cool how Living Tree of Death, well, that's an inversion of the Tree of Life, I believe, from the book of Genesis from the Bible.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
It could be
Especially
like a big
creepier-
lotus tree.
Yeah. Or especially
Of
creepier
course.
when you see what happens to that staff after Conan slices it. The staff licked out like the dart of a viper, but the slash of Conan's knife was quicker. The staff fell in writhing halves. There was another flicker of the keen steel like a jet of lightning, and the head of the Khitan rolled to the floor. So he finally meets somebody who's faster than him on the draw, and two, the staff actually starts moving and writhing when it's cut in half. So it's like, what kind of a tree are we dealing with here? You know?
Yeah. And what's awesome about this scene is that all throughout the Catan's speech, you get something of a bit of a Western standoff between him and Conan. And I know Beast Wars was really fond of the Western standoffs.
Most
Don
Westerns
has
are
some
too,
comments.
you know?
Okay, just one second. All I was going to say was this is rather, except this is with a knife and a staff rather than a pair of guns.
Yeah.
It's not he cuts a head off with a knife. Must be a big knife.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Must be a Crocodile Dundee knife.
Then Taurus brought the mouth of the tube to his lip and some blew powerfully. A long jet
Of yellowish powder. We were talking about what the Tower of the Elephant guy.
That powdered Black Lotus that he unleashed there.
So that's why I remembered it. It says yellowish powder. So I was like thinking yellowish, yellow. So I was thinking like Yellow Lotus or something like that. That's right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, and thanks, World of Conan, for pointing out the chat thing. I've got the screen maxed sometimes, so
yeah. Well, he did say that the powder was made from the Black Lotus, not necessarily that was just like pure Black Lotus.
Oh, good point.
Probably, made into a fine powder that could be blown and stuff like that without causing any untoward effects to whoever's near it. You can imagine like pure Black Lotus extract would be like absolutely lethal to everybody. Like maybe just getting near the fumes would be too much, and Taurus wouldn't be able to carry it around.
Oh, right, yeah.
At least, that's possible.
And we get
it might be a yellowish.
And we get Conan who swipes the heart of Ahriman in a scene that's reminiscent. Well, that should probably be read with a certain audio piece from Zelda. Dun 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 dun.
How about not?
Aw.
Yeah.
More like creepy ambient, choral sound in the background or something like that,
Yeah, go with that one.
Yeah, because in this case, taking the stone comes with it somebody else waking up. In this case, a certain mummy who just,
Conan is also smart. Then he shrank back, his hair bristling, his blood congealing icily. So he didn't immediately just grab the jewel.
Yeah.
No.
And then
who knows what it's going to do.
Yeah.
I'd throw like something over it and take it like in a bag or something. Why touch it with your bare hand, basically?
Well, in this case, regardless, he doesn't have time because slowly the man rose, taking the jewel in his hand. He towered beside the altar, dusky, naked, with a face like a carven image. Mutely, he extended his hand towards Conan, with the jewel throbbing like a living heart within it. And Conan took it. So basically, the mummy doesn't want it. Yeah.
And you have Conan who asks of him, "Who are you?" "I was Thoth Mekri. I am dead." "Well, leave me out of this accursed temple, will you?"
Just asks him,
It's like, yeah, well, get me out of here.
And he's just like, okay. But
it's a good point because they're in a maze. Yeah, so
something really important here. "I was Thoth Mekri. I am dead." Go back to the very first resurrection in this whole story with Zaltotun. Going back to that. Where is it?
Oh, sleeper away.
Yeah. A dim flame flickered in the dark eyes. "I was Zaltotun." He whispered,
I am dead.
"I am dead." The exact same words.
"You are Xaltotun." "I am Xaltotun."
Exactly. Orestes has to remind him of who he was.
Yeah, and also the incantation there was complete.
Yeah.
And it gets to the
How has this novel/tale not been made a movie yet?
I mean,
It's the Cull movie with Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah.
No,
but not
it's got
entirely.
Akivasha replacing Zaltotun, kind of as a mix-up, but
not entirely.
it's the closest thing.
That's like 1/10 of a thing from this book.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. But
and I do think it's a shame it's not been properly adapted.
I mean, that would take a lot of money and a
A
huge
lot of
budget,
money, and at least it would at least be a HBO miniseries.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go that route, there's also a picture of the guy. Wait,
Yeah, it's a mummy, all right.
with the heart.
Yeah.
Yep. Mummy. And for anyone who cares, don't make the typo mommy.
Wasn't planning to.
Have never seen that happen.
No.
I've actually seen it happen. But
Well, you might be the first person in all of humankind that has seen that.
no, I've seen people make that typo.
It's not a typo if people do it deliberately as a pun.
Typically they did it deliberately, I think. And
Yeah.
you have Conan who, on the way out, catches a glimpse of ivory flesh in the shadows.
Mm.
And apparently Akivasha ends up shrinking back from the glow of the jewel. And with her, other less human shapes scuttled or shambled into the darkness.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, he doesn't have to worry about her, but only because there's a dead guy carrying, the magic rock ahead of him. Is just like, okay, not staying here, following the dead guy.
And I think that, well, I wonder what effect
That's-
this thing would have on her.
That's actually very the Conan was like, "Can you get me out of here? Like, get me out of here!" Like, I wouldn't have thought about asking the just
Dead
recent
guy.
dead mummy. Okay, can you help me out of here? Like, I would think he was against me or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the guy just hands the jewel back to Conan.
That's
So
true.
he just like takes it. And it's like, okay,
Ah,
you're not immediately hostile. That's at least that.
He might be
got-
just over it all. Like I'm so over this. I just
Yeah.
don't. I really
Yeah.
don't care about this anymore.
we've
Yeah.
got two of the universal monsters that appear in this chapter.
Yeah.
Vampire and mummy.
And ninjas.
And ninjas.
And mention of werewolves
Yep.
and demons.
Happy Halloween, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, this is basically a Halloween
Um,
special on our part. So,
Yeah.
So then he basically gets the jewel and he skedaddles out of there as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah.
and decides
this
to
is-
basically hitch a ride back with the venturer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, just yells at his crew, "Awake, you dogs! Heave up the anchor, lay to the doors, give that fisherman a helmet full of
Yeah.
gold and put him ashore. Dawn will soon be breaking, and before sunrise we must be racing for the nearest port of Zingara."
I like this when I read this. That when he says, "Awake, you dogs!" roared Conan, knocking aside the spear to start a lookout thrust at his breast. He's like, "Okay, come on, let's go."
He's like, he shows up out of nowhere, freaks out the lookout. He's like, "Oh shit!" And it's like, "Come on, get
Yeah.
going."
Yeah,
Meanwhile, he whirled about
He
his
doesn't-
head. The great jewel
Yeah.
was threw off splashes of light that spotted the deck with golden fire.
I just like he doesn't even acknowledge the guy thrusting the
Mhm.
spear. He just chucks it aside.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go now.
Casually.
Yeah, casually like this.
Yeah, but I do like
Let's
the
go.
fact that again we have that moment of panic from Conan as he finally exits from the pyramid, and Thaumaturgy pointing silently into the desert, just to give him his directions, and then turns and walks back in. It's like the dead guy's just like, "Go that way, bye," and just fucks off back into the darkness. And Conan immediately just watches them go, turns around and books it as far and as hard as he can, just runs out past out of Kemi until he hits the desert air to kind of like change his mind about things, because he has had enough of this stuff.
And he's going to head for the nearest
Yeah.
port of Zingara.
Yeah.
So we know his destination.
Yeah, exactly.
He jumps in the water, heedless of sharks or crocodiles.
Yeah, it's like at this point, no, not staying in Stygia. Screw Stygia. It is a silly place. We're leaving.
With a lot of dancing on tables.
Yeah.
But thankfully, no King Arthurs.
The only people who'd wish to go to Stygia would be librarians.
And herpetologists.
Mm. Yep. So that fight at the end was awesome, though.
Oh yeah.
Indeed. I mean, Conan let everyone else kill each other.
Smart.
I mean, yeah. I mean, as soon as the first blade was drawn, he did jump down, but yeah, by the time he got to the,
I mean,
snuck around to get to the gem, yeah, there was one guy left standing.
I mean, I think fantasy, Lord of the Rings, and all that stuff are shown. And Wizards battle is just best to, stay on the sidelines.
Yeah.
It's like, do your thing. I'll check on you later.
King Conan is a very high-level adventurer, lots of easy death all over. Oh, yeah.
So I have to ask, which of these 2 chapters were your favorites, guys?
First one's got
That's a
more
good
of a creep factor to it, obviously.
Yeah, that's true.
And the second one, honestly, in spite of the fact that there's a naked chick in the first chapter, the second one keeps that creep factor going, but also has the great fight scene. So I'm almost tempted to say the second of the 2 chapters.
Tempted?
Yes.
But you're going to go with chapter 1.
No, I'm going with chapter 2.
Okay. That was a trick question to make sure everything was, that you're all right, because how could you go with anything but that second chapter? I mean, come on. Ninjas versus snake priests. Doesn't get better
It's
than
hard
that.
to say no to that,
They were not ninjas. I'm drawing a hard line here.
He's got a point. They're Khitan, not Japanese.
Fair enough.
Wizards. Wizards of the East.
Still awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also the Hall of the Dead.
Yeah, the Halls of the
that's
Dead. That's a winner there.
It has a lot of lore drop, a lot of great stuff about. Everything.
It pretty much
basically.
has almost everything that the previous chapter had, but more so. So ultimately, it wins in that regard.
But the former chapter is really good as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there are no bad chapters in this book. Simple as that.
Yeah, some are maybe less, others are better. There was one chapter in the earlier ones that was kind of like not the best one, but there's always something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm gonna agree with Zero. I think all the chapters are great.
That makes
I mean, they're all great, but one's was a bit lesser than the rest. That's what I meant. It was kind of nothing really happened in that chapter.
All chapters are great, but some are greater than others.
Yep.
Yes.
Some more equal than others.
Yes.
And so far, we're almost at the end of the journey.
Yeah, there's 3 chapters left.
Yeah.
And all I can say is that where I find that while I do like the meandering tone of Lord of the Rings in the early chapters, I tend to like the fact that Howard is a little more focused at times than Lord of the Rings, just to make the comparison.
I mean, it comes from the format. When you're doing stuff for magazines like that, you have a word count you got to stick to. You can't go over that. You got, because you're not the only story that's going to be in there.
And he has to
when you're
get
dealing
paid.
with like a novel or something like that, like, ching.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You got a point there. Cling.
I got a point, got to sell. But yeah, when you're dealing with a long form novel, as is the case with Tolkien or something like that, versus short form fiction that's being sold
Gotta get paid.
in magazines,
It's my
you gotta get
livelihood.
paid. You're paid by the word, but you can't go over your word count.
Yeah,
because otherwise your story's gonna get rejected.
But I think that has to have been a really good teacher. Like it trains you to get the absolute best in a set length of pages. Like you gotta get the best. You can't overthink, and you can't underperform it. You have
and you
to
gotta be prepared
put
to
your
kill your
best.
darlings a bit. If you end up with something like a paragraph that's running long, even if you love it, you have to be able to edit that stuff down.
Yeah, I think with Tolkien though, I do think though that his story is. Well, I really like Lord of the Rings, but I think that there's something to be said for Howard's focus. On the other hand, Tolkien, since he doesn't have to worry about length, is able to meander and take his time and establish all these details and all this stuff for his world. So he's able to flesh it out quite a bit.
It's quite a history kind of book.
Yeah. But that said, like, I'm going to be honest, I can only imagine how good a Silmarillion type book written by Howard would have been.
I mean, we have that to a certain extent. It is the Howardian age essay that
Yeah,
is
I know,
his Silmarillion. And even then, it's like, you know, the size of a chapter of the Silmarillion. And he managed to pack that much, you know, history in there, glossed over in many ways. But
yeah, I meant like if he had actually decided to expand every bit of it into its own epic story.
Yeah.
Right.
But Howard's style, or rather what he needed to do, one would think would work better today with low attention span. Maybe.
Depends on how low an attention span we're talking about here. Because, you know, there are certain people I know who wouldn't be able to handle Howard, and much less Tolkien.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's true.
Same. Tolkien also spending years to do X, while Howard is spending weeks tops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tolkien, when you actually, if you have a copy of History of Middle-earth, you'll see that his first few drafts for Lord of the Rings, at least the first chapters, were garbage in a lot of cases. And I don't say this to bash Tolkien, but some of those early drafts are not very good, like Trotter. Oh my gosh. But the thing is, Tolkien had some great proofreaders, such as Jack Lewis. I think Warnie Lewis may have also ended up reading some of it or listening to some of it for him. You had Edith, you had Christopher, and they were able to tell him, no, Trotter's got to go. You're not keeping that in there, period. And so he was able to excise from his stories the bad ideas and the bad stuff and keep all the good stuff. And Tolkien also had a pattern of starting over almost completely from scratch when writing a draft, and then, you know, incorporating all the best parts of the different drafts together into the final copy, so that he had a very lengthy process. It did take him a long time to hammer out what he wanted, but like you look at the quality of Lord of the Rings, obviously it was worth it, even if it took him 17 years just to do it. But Howard, I would argue, wrote something of very similar quality in less time. And I wonder, had he lived, you know, like, let's say Lord of the Rings comes out and Howard had lived to see that, what kind of Conan story he might have written in response, where he would have gone back to Conan.
Well, this was what I was.
Sure he would have. He was actually, you know, go deep into like westerns and stuff like that at the time of his death.
That was what I was going to say.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that he was kind of done with Conan at that point, and he seems like a very he jumped from many places. Like he got kind of fed up with something, and then he moved on. So I don't know, when you were talking about making a Silmarillion for Conan, I mean, that would be awesome, but I just don't see him, like, he doesn't want to. Howard kind of like, it's not his thing. He's I think that's not what excites him. Also with the Howard is also, he needs to write to, like we said, earn a paycheck. Tolkien obviously had a job. Yeah, he got his money from, so he could take his.
I mean, just look at what happened with Solomon Kane. He wrote a bunch of stories with that character, and then just moved on to another one, specifically to, you know, Cullen Conan eventually.
He had a way of coming back to Conan, but
because it's sold.
Yeah, because it's sold.
It's sold.
But with Red Nails, I think, he was done. On the other hand, what might he have done had, you know, like Conan was reprinted and started selling as well as he did in the 50s? What would Howard have done in response to that? I wonder.
It's interesting. Speaking of Red Nails, it's interesting that it ends with them walking off to the sunset.
Yeah.
It?
I mean, if you're going to, you know, have that be the send-off of one of your characters,
that's what I mean.
You know, aside from the stories that were published posthumously, obviously, then that could be his way of just saying, okay,
Goodbye
I've said
to the
all
character.
I have to say with his character.
Hmm.
And that particular muse is no longer speaking to me.
Yeah.
It's time for me to find something else.
Yeah. I like the difference between Howard and Tolkien's writing style. It's fun bouncing between the two. Oh, it is. Yeah. It's basically why Dan and I have Dragon Hour and our Ring Lords streams pretty much almost juxtaposed, so that we're jumping between Hour of the Dragon and Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm. Because you have a bit of a classic Brit and an American from the South. So we see two distinct different styles.
Yeah, but similar stories and two different types of mythology juxtaposed from each other. I think rather than Conan per se, what characters and stories might he have created? He was very young. Yeah.
That's fair.
He died in his early 30s.
He died at 30, I believe.
Yeah.
Agree with Gola. Yeah.
Or jumping between Frank Herbert and Howard. Gola. Frank Herbert is more like Tolkien. In the vein more like Tolkien. Yeah. He's also a guy who's learned and read a lot of basically science stuff. What would you say? And science fiction and stuff like that, I think. And writes more in that vein.
Yeah.
Than Howard.
Reading the Ace Conan chronology prepped me to read Tolkien's longer epic tales. Oh, that's good. I remember just diving in the deep end and kind of at 26 diving deep into the Silmarillion by a fluke, and then kind of finishing a few of those epic stories, then going back to Lord of the Rings. Well, not back, but like picking it up, reading the whole Lord of the Rings, and then reading Silmarillion and flipping it back over and rereading it again because it's Silmarillion. It's just the greatest book ever.
What would have been? What would have been funny if Thuthomes, when he said, "I am Thuthomes," and then he would have slipped and broken his neck.
Truly,
like,
a rival worthy of.
What do we do now?
Whoops.
You really like poking fun at him, don't you, World of Conan?
How so?
No, it's just earlier you were poking fun at him.
Oh right, yeah, with the voice. Yeah, no, because it's kind of funny, but it's like Shakespearean villain. I am Thuthomes. I shall rule the world.
And he's clearly wanting to challenge Fafamon without having the kind of gravitas Fafamon has.
Yeah, he wants the power, and he's trying to get the power, but he just grabbed a bit more than he can handle.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's there's a reason why he is not the Lord of the Black Ring.
Indeed.
World of Conan pressing for comedy version.
Yeah, why not?
Well,
Let's have some fun in this place.
Hour of the Dragon, as directed by Mel Brooks.
I was just thinking that.
Mel Brooks.
Oh man, I would make Conan I would make Conan the absolute stereotype, like a dumb barbarian, and he would just hit place, and he would just miraculously go from one place to one place, and kind of like inadvertently hit the right things, and they would die basically.
Oh god. Okay, no. Hour of the Dragon, but Conan is played by Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
Crom, I've never
Grant me strength. Grant me strength. I'm so
Grant
small.
me revenge.
I'm
if
so
you don't
small.
listen, I'll tell you, you schmuck.
No, Conan is played by Leslie Nielsen.
No, it doesn't really work. I think.
That is not ridiculous enough.
I think the Rick Moranis thing is good, right? Crom, grant me strength. I'm small and I cannot wield this heavy blade.
I don't know. I think Rick Moranis could probably do some weightlifting and get buff.
Yeah,
But
we'll
he'd still be wearing
CG.
the same, but he'd still be wearing the
We'll
same
CG.
glasses. So it's just like
We'll just CG in those muscles. He doesn't have to work out.
Yeah.
He can wield a foam blade. Heavy sword.
Yeah.
And you can see it bouncing off people.
Rick Moranis was a great actor.
Mm.
And probably the only one who was a decent human being. So he retired for a noble reason.
Yeah, guy's a family man.
Yep. So I guess we're just about finished. And I'm just going to say real quick, as we always do, for everyone to smash the like, go over to the other two channels, which I think should be in the description, and smash the subscribe button on their channels. We've managed to get Zero above 700. Let's try to get him to 800 next.
I think Zero has managed that on his own.
Well, it's a little
Very
bit column
true.
A, a little bit of column B.
Let's not steal his thunder. Come on.
Well, I
I
did
didn't
recently
mean to.
put
I
out
didn't
some
mean
interviews,
to.
so those would be interesting for people to watch.
Okay, World of Conan, just stick to mocking Howard, not me. I'm too easy.
I
mock.
I'm
support
not
you
mocking.
mocking him.
I'm defending
mocking.
Zerosum. There's a difference.
Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, but Zero's seriously gotten to 700 on his own, and with the fans' help. So that's great. So
No, he bought Indian people. Well, the sub council.
sure.
Silliness.
I'd say subscribe to World of Conan, but there's really not. Actually, subscribe to his
thanks.
channel too if you haven't already. And do check out his Hyborian Age essay
Get with the
video.
hero. Drop the zeros.
Yeah. Well,
No,
World of
I'm just
Conan
kidding.
has-
That's a Vanilla Ice quote.
I was just going to recommend your Hyborian Age essay videos. Those are really good. Along with
Yeah,
your
we were going to recommend that, but then
Hey,
something happened, and your website, your YouTube channel just disappeared from the description. How about that?
No, that's just a funny quote by Vanilla Ice. Get with the hero. Drop the zero.
Yeah.
So hilarious. Such a cringe.
And, well, also subscribe over here if folks haven't already. Well, over here could mean between either Brothers Kryn or Brothers Hyborian, or just both.
Go with Brothers Hyborian. Yeah, boost that one up.
Yeah, fair enough.
Or hey, get this. Maybe create another channel
No, there's
With
too
the-
many.
with the
I can't
brothers.
even keep track of all of them anymore.
Call
I
it the
can't.
brothers dragon.
Yeah, this is why I
Wow.
stuck with just a completely nondescript name, so I could put whatever the hell I wanted on the channel. Just keep it on one
fair
spot.
Don't unsubscribe. Guys, don't unsubscribe. I'm joking. I'm seriously joking.
It's all right. It's all right. Oh, come on. Walk has
No.
videos out there. Okay, I think that hurts all our feelings.
Yeah,
No,
we need a
I'm-
new Gola. We need to call the Ixians
No.
and get a new Gola to replace him.
Now I am to Thomas, hitting my head on the floor.
Let me just go make sure in the description. I do want to make sure because, well,
Gola, don't leave me. You're the only one who likes Frank.
Yeah,
Herbert
we're all
here.
there.
These guys are
Oh,
so
good.
uncivilized.
Yeah. Although you should
Um,
probably put a link to the Brothers Hyborian in there too, because it's just Brothers Kryn.
It's a good name though, the Brothers Hyborian. I gotta give you
nice.
that.
Yeah.
It's a good channel name.
Thanks.
What was your other channel called again?
The other one is Brothers Kryn. And
No, I meant the other one. Sorry.
What about the other one?
Yeah, I meant the other one.
Look, I have meat pie to eat.
All right. Thank
Was
you,
it
God.
Nightmare in Reviews?
Brothers Hyborian.
Okay, love you guys. I'll see you
Take care.
on the next one.
How
See
many
you
channels
guys.
do you have?
Hey,
as many as we need.
About
then one
25. About 25.
That's the
Give
goal.
or take a few.
That's
Like,
the
I'm
goal.
serious. I'm deadly serious. What do you got? A Power Rangers. You got a horror channel. You got a history channel. I think you got a French channel, right? You got a.
I think we've got a French one, but we've completely ditched that one weirdly.
I just threw that out there. I didn't remember if you had a French one.
But
Meanwhile, Gola Moadib says, "This is a fun live stream, guys. Keep up the good work. We will."
thanks. And next time, the exciting part is that I think that's going to be the last episode. I think.
Of this one, anyway.
Yes.
Yay! And then we move on to
Other
something
stuff.
else. And it's been a fun book. So stay tuned for the climactic epic finale
Of Hour of the Dragon.